There are moments when a man convinces himself he's imagining everything. The smile that lasted a second too long, the way she looked at him, then quickly looked away. The strange feeling that something was there, but surely it couldn't be, especially when she's younger. So he says nothing, because being wrong would feel embarrassing, and somehow silence feels safer than hope. If you've ever walked away from a conversation wondering whether she was interested or simply being kind, stay with me. Subscribe if these quiet conversations about people and relationships speak to something you've been carrying. There are things we rarely say out loud here, and sometimes that's exactly why they matter. One of the biggest misunderstandings I see isn't that men miss obvious signs, it's that they dismiss the quiet ones, the ones that don't look dramatic enough to believe. Because movies taught us attraction should be loud. Real life rarely works that way. Sometimes attraction arrives wearing uncertainty. Imagine this. You're talking to a younger woman at work, or maybe at a friend's gathering. The conversation isn't particularly exciting, nothing extraordinary happens, but every time someone else joins the conversation, she somehow ends up looking back at you. Just for a second. Not because she has something to say, almost as if she's checking whether you're still there. Most men don't even notice this. They're too busy wondering whether they're saying the right thing. Meanwhile, she's paying attention to something completely different. Your reactions, your expressions, whether you laugh, whether you're comfortable, whether you disappear into the background. People often watch the person who quietly matters to them, not constantly. Obvious. Just enough that, if you were paying attention, you'd start noticing a pattern. Patterns tell us much more than moments. One smile means very little. 5 small moments. Those begin to whisper something. But that whisper creates another problem. Many men immediately talk themselves out of it. She's just friendly. She's young. She's probably like that with everyone. Maybe. Sometimes that's exactly what's happening. Not every kind smile carries hidden meaning, and that's important to remember. But sometimes you're using humility to protect yourself from disappointment. There's a quiet difference. One keeps you grounded, the other keeps you lonely. I've spoken with men who could remember a conversation from 10 years ago, not because it changed their lives, because they never knew what it meant. She laughed. She found excuses to keep talking. She seemed genuinely disappointed when the conversation ended. He still wonders, years later. Not because he needed a relationship, because uncertainty has a strange way of staying alive. It asks questions long after memories fade. And younger women can feel uncertainty too. Age doesn't erase nervousness. In many cases, it actually makes someone more cautious. Imagine she finds you calm, emotionally steady, easy to talk to. Maybe she admires qualities she doesn't often find around people her own age. That doesn't automatically mean romantic attraction. Admiration and attraction can look surprisingly similar in the beginning. Both make someone curious. Both make someone stay a little longer than necessary. Both make ordinary conversations feel less ordinary. The difference usually isn't found in what she says. It's hidden inside what she keeps creating. Opportunities. Because people who enjoy someone's presence rarely want the interaction to end naturally. They extend it. Without announcing that they're doing it, she asks one more question, brings up another topic, points out something funny across the room, comments on your coffee, anything. Not because the subject matters, because leaving doesn't feel as interesting as staying. And that's where many men unknowingly interrupt the moment. They answer politely, then walk away, thinking they were respecting boundaries. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're walking away from an invitation so quiet it barely existed. But that isn't even the part almost nobody notices. There's another silent sign, one that happens after the conversation is already over. And once you see it, you'll never watch those endings the same way again. It's strange how the most revealing moment often happens when nothing is supposed to be happening anymore. The conversation is over. Other people have started talking. You're already turning to leave. That should be the end. But sometimes, it isn't. She looks back. Not dramatically, not like something out of a movie, just one quick glance, almost as if her mind hasn't quite caught up with her feet. You'd be surprised how often people reveal themselves in the moments they think no one is paying attention. Not because they're trying to send a message, because they're no longer managing how they appear. I've watched this happen more times than I can count. A woman says goodbye. She starts walking away. Then, a few steps later, she turns, almost without thinking. If your eyes happen to meet hers, she smiles. Not the smile she wore during the conversation, a quieter one, less social, more personal. Then she keeps walking. Most men dismiss it before they've even reached their car. Probably nothing. Maybe. Sometimes it is nothing. People glance around for countless reasons. But when that glance becomes a habit, when every goodbye seems to include one last look, it's worth paying attention. Because attraction often doesn't shout, it checks, it wonders, it asks silent questions. Is he still looking? Did he notice me? Will he say something? These aren't thoughts unique to women. Men have them too. The difference is that many people imagine confidence leaves no room for uncertainty. Real confidence doesn't erase uncertainty. It simply moves with it. And younger women aren't immune to that. Sometimes they're even more careful. Think about it. If she feels there's an age difference, she may wonder what you're thinking before she allows herself to show much of what she's feeling. She might worry you're not interested, or that you'll assume she's immature, or that people around you will judge the interaction before either of you has figured out what it actually means. Those doubts don't always stop attraction. They often make it quieter. Which brings me to something else. Have you ever noticed how some people seem unusually interested in the smallest details about your life? Not your job title, not your achievements, the little things. What kind of music do you listen to on long drives? What do you usually do on weekends? Have you always lived here? At first, those questions don't seem important, but relationships rarely grow through impressive facts. They grow through ordinary details. Because details create familiarity, and familiarity slowly makes someone feel emotionally closer. A younger woman who's curious about you often isn't collecting information. She's building a picture. She wants to know how your days feel, what makes you laugh, whether you're patient, whether you're the same person on a stressful Tuesday that you were on a relaxed Saturday. People who aren't emotionally invested usually stay on the surface. Weather, work, random conversation. People who feel drawn towards someone often drift somewhere deeper without even realizing it. The shift is subtle. The questions become less about information and more about understanding. Not because she's interviewing you, because she's imagining you in her world. There's another clue hidden here. Watch what happens when you tell a story. Maybe it's about something completely ordinary, getting lost on a road trip, burning dinner, embarrassing yourself years ago. She isn't just listening. She's watching your face while you tell it. She laughs before the punchline. She reacts to your expressions more than your words. That's because attraction often pays attention to emotion before logic. She's learning what it feels like to be around you, not just what you think. And then something interesting happens. Days later. She brings up a tiny detail you completely forgot mentioning. The name of your dog growing up, your favorite coffee, that old hobby you stopped doing years ago. You're surprised she remembers. She isn't trying to impress you. She simply remembered because your words mattered to her more than you realized. Of course, good memory alone doesn't mean romantic interest. Some people are naturally attentive. Context always matters. Patterns matter. But when someone consistently remembers the little pieces everyone else forgets, it's often because those pieces never felt little to them. Still, even this isn't the sign that causes the biggest misunderstandings. That one usually appears when another woman enters the picture, and the reaction is so quiet. Most men never connect the dots until it's far too late. You might think attraction reveals itself when two people are alone. Sometimes it does. But there are moments when it becomes easier to notice because someone else walks into the room. A woman joins the conversation. She smiles at you. Maybe she knows you. Maybe she doesn't. Nothing unusual. You keep talking. But if you happen to glance back at the younger woman you were speaking with just a moment ago, you may catch something that disappears almost instantly. Not anger, not jealousy in the dramatic sense, just a pause. A tiny shift in her expression. Her smile loses a little warmth. She becomes quieter. Or suddenly she's interested in her phone. It's over in seconds, so quickly that most men assume they imagined it. And perhaps they did. One moment alone never tells the whole story. But when the same emotional shift appears more than once, it can mean something worth noticing. Because when someone begins to care about your attention, even a little, they often notice where that attention goes. Not because they're possessive, not because they're trying to control you, simply because human beings compare themselves without meaning to. It's surprisingly common. You don't have to be dating someone for that feeling to appear. Sometimes it begins long before either person admits there's anything there. And here's where many men make a mistake. They assume attraction always creates confidence. In reality, attraction often creates hesitation first, especially when the outcome feels uncertain. Imagine she's talking to you. She's relaxed, laughing, asking questions. Then another woman compliments you. For a brief moment, the energy changes. She isn't upset, she's observing, almost as if she's asking herself a question she'll never say aloud. Where do I fit here? That question isn't exclusive to younger women, or older women, or men. It's simply a human question. One we all ask in different ways, sometimes without realizing it. I've noticed something else over the years. When someone enjoys being around you, they begin finding reasons to include themselves in your ordinary life. Not the exciting moments, the boring ones. She asks if you've eaten. She remembers you had an important meeting. She sends you a photo because it reminded her of something you said last week. None of those actions scream attraction. That's exactly why they're easy to miss. Real emotional closeness often grows through small moments that don't seem important while they're happening. Think about the people you've cared about most. Was it one grand moment? Probably not. It was hundreds of ordinary moments quietly stacking on top of one another. A conversation that lasted 5 minutes longer. A message that arrived at exactly the right time. Remembering how someone takes their coffee, these tiny things create a feeling that's difficult to explain. Comfort. And comfort is often underestimated. Many men believe attraction is built on excitement alone. Excitement opens the door. Comfort is what makes someone want to stay inside. That's why some younger women are drawn toward men who make them feel emotionally safe rather than emotionally overwhelmed. Not because older always means wiser, it doesn't. But emotional steadiness has a way of slowing another person's heartbeat. Not literally, emotionally. It gives them permission to stop performing, to stop wondering if they need to impress someone every second. Ironically, that's when they often become more playful. You'll notice it in little teasing comments. Nothing cruel, nothing designed to embarrass you, just enough to see how you'll respond. Maybe she jokes about your music taste, laughs at the way you always order the same drink, pretends to disagree with you over something completely harmless. Many men misunderstand teasing. They think she's creating distance. Often, she's testing whether closeness feels safe. Can you laugh at yourself? Can you stay relaxed? Can the conversation survive a little tension? Because relationships aren't built on perfect conversations. They're built on people who can remain comfortable when things become slightly imperfect. Still, there's one quiet behavior that tends to confuse men more than almost anything else. It feels like mixed signals. One day she's warm, the next day she seems distant, then she's warm again. Most men see inconsistency, but sometimes something much more human is happening. And once you understand why that rhythm appears, you'll stop taking every change in her behavior so personally. One afternoon, she'll seem completely at ease with you. She starts the conversation. She laughs easily. She lingers after everyone else has drifted away. You leave thinking, maybe this time I'm not imagining it. Then the next time you see her, she's different. Not cold, just quieter. She keeps the conversation short. She doesn't hold eye contact as long. She seems almost distracted. And that's usually the moment a man's mind begins working against him. I must have said something wrong. Maybe she lost interest. Maybe I completely misread everything. It's amazing how quickly the mind fills silence with self-doubt. The problem is, silence can mean 100 different things. People carry stress you never see, family worries, work pressure, a sleepless night. Or sometimes they're simply trying to understand their own feelings, especially when those feelings surprise them. If she's younger and feels a genuine connection with an older man, she may spend as much time questioning herself as you spend questioning yourself. Not because the connection is wrong, because unexpected feelings often make people slow down. Many of us think attraction moves in a straight line, closer, closer, closer. Real life isn't usually that neat. Sometimes people step back, not to leave, but to breathe. Imagine standing at the edge of cold water. You step in. The water feels good. Then you step back for a moment, not because you hate the water, because you're adjusting. Emotions can work like that too. Some people naturally move toward closeness. Then, when it begins feeling real, they pull back just enough to feel safe again. This doesn't automatically mean someone is interested, and it certainly doesn't mean every moment of distance is secretly romantic. That's where people can fool themselves. Patterns matter more than isolated moments. Does she reconnect? Does she return with the same warmth after a little space? Does the rhythm repeat? Those questions tell you much more than one quiet afternoon ever could. There's something else that often gets overlooked. Listen to how she talks about the future. Not your future together, that's far too direct. I mean the small, casual kind. You mention a restaurant you've never tried. She says, "You should take me there sometime," then laughs as if she didn't quite mean to say it. Or maybe she hears about an event next month. "Oh, you'll probably enjoy that." Then, after a tiny pause, "We should go if you're going." The words arrive almost accidentally, as though they escaped before she had time to edit them. Those moments are fascinating because they aren't polished, they're spontaneous. And spontaneous moments often reveal what careful words hide. You know what many men do next? Nothing. Not because they're uninterested, because they're afraid of assuming too much. So the invitation floats away. Neither person mentions it again. Months later, both wonder why nothing happened. It's almost painful how many connections fade this way, not through rejection, through hesitation, through two people quietly waiting for certainty that never comes. I've met men who believed confidence meant always knowing exactly what another person felt. It doesn't. Confidence is being comfortable with uncertainty. It's noticing possibilities without forcing conclusions. It's respecting boundaries while remaining open to connection. That balance. It's rarer than people realize. And strangely enough, it's often what makes someone feel safest around you. There's one final sign I want to leave you with. It isn't about eye contact, or smiles, or playful teasing. In fact, if you focus only on those things, you might miss it completely. Because this last sign has almost nothing to do with how she looks at you, and everything to do with who she slowly becomes whenever you're around. There comes a moment in some connections when words stop being the most interesting part. You notice it almost by accident. She's no longer trying so hard to seem impressive. The careful version of herself begins to fade. Not all at once, little by little. She tells you about a mistake she made at work and laughs before you can judge her. She admits she gets nervous in situations where everyone else seems confident. She changes her mind halfway through a story and says, "Actually, no, that's not what I mean." And she doesn't apologize for it. That kind of honesty is easy to overlook because it doesn't feel dramatic. But emotionally, it's one of the quietest forms of trust. People rarely relax into imperfection around someone they don't feel safe with. Think about your own life. Around certain people, you measure every word. You rehearse sentences in your head. You wonder how you'll be perceived. It's exhausting. Around someone you trust, you forget to perform. You simply exist. Sometimes a younger woman begins doing exactly that around a man who makes her feel emotionally settled. She laughs louder. She becomes more playful. She tells longer stories that don't really go anywhere. She shares opinions she might have kept to herself before. Not because she's trying to impress you, because she stopped worrying so much about whether she already has. That shift is easy to miss if you're only looking for obvious signs of attraction. Many men spend so much energy searching for proof that they miss the quiet gift of presence. She chooses to spend time with you when she doesn't have to. She finds reasons to include you in ordinary moments. She remembers small details. She relaxes. She lets silence exist without rushing to fill it. Those things don't guarantee romance, and it's important not to treat them like a checklist. Human relationships are far too complex for that. Some people are naturally warm, some are deeply curious. Some simply enjoy meaningful conversation. That's why context matters, respect matters, patience matters. The healthiest connections grow because two people gradually discover they feel peaceful together, not because one person tried to decode every gesture. Ironically, the men who notice these quiet signals most clearly are often the ones least desperate to prove they're right. They're present, they listen, they observe without rushing. That calmness changes everything, because attraction isn't only about being seen, it's about making another person feel safe enough to be seen. And people remember that feeling, long after they've forgotten the exact conversation, long after they've forgotten what either of you were wearing. They remember how they felt when they were with you. Maybe that's why some men look back years later and finally understand what they couldn't see at the time. Not because the signs suddenly changed, because they changed. They became more patient, more emotionally aware, less focused on chasing certainty, more willing to let people reveal themselves naturally. So if there's one thought I'd like to leave you with, it's this. Don't spend your life trying to catch hidden signals. Pay attention to patterns. Stay curious instead of convinced. If a younger woman genuinely enjoys your company, you'll often notice it over time, not in one magical moment, but in 100 quiet ones that slowly begin to point in the same direction. And if those moments never appear, that's okay too. Not every connection is meant to become a relationship. Some simply remind us that we're still capable of being seen, still capable of making someone smile, still capable of bringing calm into another person's day. In the end, that's the kind of presence worth building. Because whether love arrives next week, next year, or when you least expect it, the man who listens carefully, respects boundaries, and values genuine connection over guessing games is already becoming someone people naturally want to be close to. And sometimes, that's where every meaningful relationship quietly begins.